Welcome to the OLV Daily Reflection for Tuesday, October 20th. Today, the Universal Church celebrates St. Paul of the Cross. This particular St. Paul was born in northern Italy in 1694. After a brief time as a soldier, he focused his life on building up his faith. After spending much time in solitary prayer, he developed a devotion to Christ's passion. This particular devotion to Christ's passion led to several powerful insights, with the most important being that St. Paul saw in the Lord's passion a demonstration of God's love for all people. Therefore, he felt called to devote his priesthood to a preaching ministry that shared the fruit of his prayer, his devotion to the passion. So known as one of the most popular preachers of his day, St. Paul of the Cross was known for both his preaching, but also for his generous acts of mercy and holiness. In 1720, St. Paul founded the Congregation of the Passion, whose members combined devotion to Christ's passion with a charism for preaching. Known as the Passionists, they added a fourth vow to the traditional 3 vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, and that fourth vow being that they promised to spread the memory of Christ's passion among the faithful. The Congregation of the Passion is still devoted to preaching about the Passion, and usually they offer their time and ministry to parishes who are holding parish missions or wish to do a parish renewal. St. Paul's insights, therefore, are still being shared with thousands and thousands of Catholics throughout the world. Today's first reading in honor of St. Paul of the Cross comes to us from the first chapter of the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. It reads, "Brothers and sisters, the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the learning of the learned I will set aside. Where is the wise one? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made the wisdom of the world foolish? For since in the wisdom of God the world did not come to know God through wisdom, it is the will of God through the foolishness of the proclamation to save those who have faith. For Jews demand signs and Greeks look for wisdom, but we proclaim Christ crucified, a stumbling block to the Jews and foolishness to Gentiles. But to those who are called, Jews and Greeks alike, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength." As I've mentioned before in the daily reflections, wisdom is an interesting word. We describe people as being wise because they've demonstrated through their lives that they're using their experiences, knowledge, and good judgment well, meaning that they have ordered their life properly. But we have to acknowledge that the experiences, knowledge, and good judgment that defines this contemporary world is different than what flows from Christ. Therefore, a person who is wise according to the standards of this world may not be wise according to the standards of Jesus Christ. And St. Paul is acknowledging this reality to the Christian community in Corinth. Because again, at that time as today, the world, the secular world, and those who are not of Christ have different sources of wisdom than we do as Christians. And on this feast day of St. Paul of the Cross, we acknowledge that through his preaching and example, he added wisdom to the church. Because his insights flowing from the passion of Jesus Christ taught us that we cannot fully access God's love for us unless we're willing to surrender ourselves to him. Unless we're willing to pick up our crosses and follow Jesus Christ, we cannot fully access the love that Christ has for us. So this means that the wisdom of Christ challenges us to embrace the crosses found in our lives, and furthermore, make sure that we're constantly dying to ourselves. And there's a quotation from the Catechism of the Catholic Church that helps to explain this insight from St. Paul the Cross and helps us to understand the wisdom of Jesus Christ. Paragraph 618 reads, "The cross is the unique sacrifice of Christ, the one mediator between God and men. But because in his incarnate divine person he has in some way united himself to every man, the possibility of being made partners in a way known to God in the Paschal mystery is offered to all men. He calls his disciples to take up their cross and follow him, for Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example, so that we may follow in his footsteps. From the cross there is no other ladder by which we may get to heaven." So as we live our lives, we have to remember that we need to always be growing in the wisdom that comes from Jesus Christ. And as we live in this world, we need to make sure that we do not take upon ourselves the wisdom of this world necessarily, but always again uniting ourselves to Jesus Christ, especially in his suffering and death, so that we may experience the fullness of redemption that only comes through him. Our Lady of Victory, pray for us.